Hey friends, it's your girl Annie F. Downs here with Eugene Cho. We just finished recording an excellent episode of the podcast. His new book is called Thou Shalt Not Be a Jerk. Eugene, what we didn't have time for in the show that I would love for you to kind of lead us with for just a couple of minutes here is, I don't know that I know the use of advocacy really well as a person of faith when it comes to politics. Can you talk to us a little bit about what does advocacy really look like?
Sure. Well, it's a great question. And there's a reason why you and others and myself probably don't quite know what advocacy looks like, because when I became a Christian at the age of 18, that never came up in conversation. Right. So I think Christians, we do compassion work fairly well. And then just recently, we're realizing that justice work is not just writing a check, that it goes a lot deeper. We're talking about not just transforming people's hearts and lives, but we have to address systems and structures and institutions. And so advocacy work does both. We speak to the realities and the plight and the situation of those who are poor or marginalized, forgotten. But then in addition to that, we're trying to advocate for changes in systems, in policies, and politics that would enable for transformation to take place. So the typical main verse that people often use for advocacy comes from Proverbs chapter 31, verse 8, 9. It reads like this. It goes, "Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute. Speak up and judge fairly. Defend the rights of the poor and needy." So when it comes to politics, the reality is there are many people who spend millions and millions of dollars trying to get their issues on the forefront of our lawmakers. Now, they have the resources to be able to do this.
Right.
Most of our lawmakers, if not all of them, are middle class or upper class. And so they don't quite always understand the realities of those who are vulnerable within our communities, whatever the issue might be. Since we're talking specifically about, let's just say, hungry people,
sure.
During the recent COVID-19 stimulus bills, we're talking about the importance of propping up our small businesses and industries. And I think that's really important. But we have to also make sure that we're speaking up and advocating, writing letters, calling our lawmakers to say, please don't forget those who are hungry and poor, those who are on food stamps, those who are in lines at our local food banks, and the list goes on. So it's typically, you can certainly just literally speak up because you have relationships. You can call people, you can write letters, and then there are occasions when we can physically take our bodies to certain spaces and say, we're here showing up on behalf of those who are marginalized.
How do we even know the first step? So we care about the example is perfect. I care that people are hungry and that children are at home and not safe, and that there are men and women not safe in their homes.
Yep.
And so when I think about that and I think, oh man, there are kids that are hungry. What's my next move? Do I go to what's my next move?
Yeah. So I think it's an important first move is to be moved, right? Because we're not going to do anything unless we're moved. So I want to just affirm and just pause for a moment and say, that's a beautiful thing to name. We want to be moved. We want to be affected. We got to resist apathy and cynicism and paralysis. And so I would say, continue to pray that God would deepen our hearts to care about something. The next step after that, in my opinion, is that we can't do it alone. We can't do this alone. So in the same way that spiritual growth happens when we join a small group or a church of like-minded, like-hearted people, I would say it's a beautiful thing and a healthy thing to do some research and say, how do I partner with organizations that care about these things? And because they'll have resources, how I could partner with them. So as an example, this isn't a paid advertisement, but if you care about
I want you to do this.
No, but if you care about human trafficking, Gary Haugen's a good friend. If you care about human trafficking, you would say, you know what, I want to join and learn more about IJM. If you care about the poor and hungry and food stamps, if you care about the food banks, if you care about these things, then I would love to invite those who are watching or listening to this to join me at bread.org. And Bread is an organization that has 45 years of history, just engaging our lawmakers, trying to move the needle, not just speaking to like the felt stories of real hunger, but beyond that, and more importantly, in my opinion, is how do we change systems and structures so that those who are poor would have access to more resources, so that in the long run, we have fewer people that actually need resources on federal programs and such.
Yeah. Okay, bread.org.
Bread.org. Join us.
Brilliant. Okay. Thank you, Pastor Eugene. I'm grateful for you.
Thank you so much.